Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good night. I don't do a lot of Instagram lives, but my guest tonight, here he is. How are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm excited to talk to you because I know you bring a
Yeah,
lot of insight to this. And yeah, so everybody who's my followers, this is Gene. You should drop him a follow. I'll let you introduce yourself.
right. My name's Gene Borrello. I was a former mobster for the Borrello crime family. I served about 13 years in prison. I have a best-selling book about my life. I'm over 200 million views on YouTube. Very well known. I know the system very well, and I could break down everything for the audience today.
Awesome. So that's why we wanted him to come on because Diddy's trial starts tomorrow. And I remember when I first started talking about it and you and I first connected, you had said that you had been housed in the exact same unit
Right.
that they were in, so you kind of had some insight about what that was like. And then you also obviously, I say obviously, I'm guessing that when you were charged, it was probably federal, correct?
Both state and federal. Yes. So I did both. I did state and federal. Yes, I know the federal laws very
Okay, great.
well. I know how they operate. I'm in. I believe he's in the Eastern District or the Southern. I'm not sure, but
Southern.
it's pretty much the center stage of America. That's where the biggest trials come out of. Is usually the Eastern District or Southern District of New York.
All right. So what for his prison life in Brooklyn, MDC, in that particular unit, if you want to walk people through a little bit what that looks like.
So it's 4 North. 4 North is for high profile cooperators, very high profile celebrities. Luigi's in there as well. Sam Bankman-Fried was in there when I was in
He's
there.
still there too.
Yeah, well, not no more.
Oh,
They kicked him out because he did that interview with the guy from Fox News. They threw him out.
okay, I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah. Who else is in there? Fetty Wap, the Attorney General of Mexico, President of Honduras. They put all high profile people in there, and like I said, there's not going to be regular prison life. It's going to be more of laid back. Nothing really going on. It's more like 20 something people. It's a dormitory. It's not cells, and you basically could do whatever you want all day. There's no structure. You know what I mean? So it's not really prison. He's not going to experience prison life until he's sentenced.
All right. And then for somebody like him, once he's sentenced, what would that look like for someone with his notoriety and fame? Because wouldn't he? I would imagine he'd have a target on his back,
Yeah,
wouldn't he?
yeah. I mean, it depends on where he goes. Obviously. Here's the thing. It depends on the amount of time that he gets, where he's going to go. But they have a thing called dropout yards. And a dropout yard is for basically people like him as well. But you're going to end up in a penitentiary dropout yard, which is still very dangerous. You know what I
All
mean?
right.
So,
Um, so he's got federal charges, and I know you had said, and we're definitely in agreement on this,
right.
that there's no way he's beating this.
No. So how the feds works is like this, and I'll break it down for everybody. The federal government don't pick your name out of a hat. You know what I mean? Obviously, when they're investigating you, it's for years. Um, they might start an investigation in 2020 and not lock you up to 2025. They have a thing called open grand jury. They're the only ones that can do it. They could literally just keep on presenting evidence into a jury and lock you up many years later. Usually, when they come and lock you up, it's because they have multiple witnesses. They have thousands of pages of wiretaps, surveillance. I mean, just an overload of evidence. And you have to understand something about the federal government. They can't be bought, they can't be bargained with, they can't be reasoned with. They're not there to the federal prosecutor is a very powerful position, and basically they become something. So they're all about glory. They don't care about nothing else. These cases they dream for them. So a guy like this is going to get the best prosecutors that you could get. Okay, the best prosecutors will be on his trial. This is going to be a publicity case. They don't care about money. They don't care about who you are. They go after anybody. They love people like this. I was with R. Kelly as well. R. Kelly was given 30 years like he was given candy. They don't care about who you are. They go after you when you're committing crimes like this. They love putting celebrities in prison. They love doing this. The federal government is the not messing around crew. When you see the United States of America versus so-and-so, you have a serious problem, okay? And their guidelines and the way they operate is almost unfair, should I say.
Yeah. And you mentioned his legal team, and he has a legal dream. Like if it was like a fantasy football kind of pick, but
Right.
lawyers, he pretty much has almost everyone that you could possibly get to
Right.
help him.
Well, we could bring. Here's the thing with that. If you're not going to go to trial, there's no point of buying a federal attorney because you have three options with the feds. This is all they give you: cooperate, Take these guidelines or trial. That's how they operate. It's not the state. There's no negotiating. This is what they're going to tell you. You're going to either give them what they want, you're going to take these ridiculous guidelines they're going to offer you and then be sentenced by a judge, or you're going to go to trial. That's it. That's your options. That's the only three options you're going to get with the government.
So what? So a lawyer, a legal team like what he has, what is his best? I mean, obviously, we don't know how this is going to play out. What he's going to be sentenced for. We don't know what the feds are bringing. We know that it's more than what they've told the public for sure.
Right.
But what do you think the best scenario for him that these attorneys can do for him?
Nothing. It's all
Okay.
nothing. This is what it is. It's all you get a good mouthpiece. You go to trial. You might get lucky and they could talk you out of it. It's rare in the feds. It don't happen. It's always good to have a former prosecutor as a lawyer because they're the best to have. I worked on both sides. I was with the government and I was a mob guy, so I could tell you from both sides. When you're with a prosecutor, a lawyer that used to be a prosecutor, he worked with the agents, he worked with the police, he worked with everybody, so he knows both sides. He knows how they move, he knows how they operate, he knows their tactics. So it's always so much better to have a prosecutor, a former prosecutor, as a lawyer. I work with some of the biggest prosecutors in the Eastern District, and they're very smart. They know the law very well, and they're very, but they know in their brain. This prosecutor knows that to beat a RICO racketeering case is like hitting the Mega Millions.
Yeah.
To be found not guilty on all charges is like going to a candy store, buy $1 ticket, and winning the Mega Millions with that dollar ticket. That's the chances of being found not guilty on all charges.
Do you think that he could get with this team get any type of reduced charges or reduced sentence?
Well,
I mean,
I'm going to explain to you, and I'm glad we're talking about this. I'm going to explain to you how grimy the government is. So let's
okay.
say you have all these charges, right? And let's say you come back with a verdict and they find you not guilty of everything except for the lowest count. With the federal system, you see in the state, you can only be sentenced to that charge of that guideline. With the feds, the judge could turn around and say, well, I listened to the case and you were found not guilty of the lowest count, but I can still sentence you off the top count. So which means
Wow.
if you blow trial to the lowest count that only holds 60 months, he could still give you 60 years because he could say, I listened to the case and I believe you did commit the top counts and give you a life in prison or 50 years, whatever he wants, when your charge only might hold 60 months. That's how the government works.
So he was offered plea deals twice, and he didn't take them either time. I would imagine that with this legal team, they know their odds going into this. Why do you think that he would turn down their plea?
Well, I'm trying to think. Do you know what the numbers were? Because I could tell you why. If you
I
knew, you
don't know they didn't tell us anything about what the plea deal was, but I know he's facing like the rest of his
right.
life.
What's his top charge? I didn't really see. What's the top
Let me look
charge?
real quick.
I can tell you the guideline.
Let me look real quick.
So he's a first time offender, but at the end of the day, you're going to cop out the guidelines.
1 second, I'm gonna check real quick. Um, his multiple charges. I don't know which one's gonna be the top one, but it's sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation for the purpose of prostitution. Those are the three main. I mean, there's a few other things in there, but those are the three big
Human
ones.
trafficking's in there as well, right?
Yeah, that would be the sex trafficking. Yeah,
Yeah, so like I said, those guidelines, it's under a RICO Act. It probably could be like 10 to life. And let me break down 10 to life guidelines. A 10 to life guideline, which means is that the judge cannot go under 10 years. So when you are sentenced to a minimum mandatory, they have that in the feds. If you cop out to a minimum mandatory of 10 to life, the only way a judge could break your minimum is if either you cooperate with a 5K letter or a safety eval. It's cooperation. That's the only way he can go under your minimum. That's it. So he has a range of 120 months to natural life. So if you plea out, the judge will give a recommendation. He's a first-time offender, so he'd probably be in the range of 15 to 18 years. And I believe if it was a 10 to life, he would be looking at least 15 to 20 years around that time if he took the cop out of the plea, because he's thinking in his brain, I'm going to get 20, 30 years because the judge has such a wide range. They're
yeah,
probably telling him on a 10 to life or 15 life, this guy, they might roof you. They might give you 30 years, 20 years. So he's going to trial. But I could guarantee you that if he blows trial, he will get, I mean, you're talking 30 plus years, more.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Sky's
at
the
his
limit.
age, that's it.
Yeah, it's sky's the limit, man. I'll be honest with you.
Do the judges when you've been offered a plea deal twice? and you turn it down twice, does the judge look at that like and is harsher when it comes to sentencing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I was going to say that. You're correct. Exactly. They're going to say, well, you had an opportunity to take this and you refused it. Now, and it also depends on the judge. You have some really vicious judges and some really nice judges. I had federal judge Block, senior federal judge. He is super friendly. He's all for the people. A lot of times you don't have that. They're usually former prosecutors and they're for the government. So it all depends on the judge. But 9 out of 10 times when it's a high profile case like this, and it's going to be in the media, he's going to slaughter you. He's going to say, well, you had an opportunity to take this, 10 to life or whatever the guideline was, and you didn't take it. Now I'm going to give you the max, or I'm going to give you, in the middle. And plus, he has so many victims that are going to be at his sentencing. So it's going to be, if when he does blow trial or whatever, he's going to be have so many victims and people coming there asking for the max and everything. It puts the judge in a bad position. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to look who his judge is. It's going to be I knew this. Judge Summeranian. I don't know what his reputation is. Let me see if I can find that
Is he
real
a
quick.
former prosecutor?
Um, he, he was appointed by Biden. Let me look up. I love not that it's always accurate, but I love AI to get this information real quick. I don't rely. I usually have to fact check it, but since we're quick, we'll take its word.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. He is recognized for his intellect, fairness, and commitment to justice. He made history as the first South Asian judge to serve on this bench. It's his legal background. He clerked for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then he was
Oh,
just
he
a
was a
partner at a
prosecutor.
law firm.
He was a
He,
prosecutor then.
yeah. No, he said
Yeah,
he was not a
that's
former prosecutor. His career focused on civil litigation rather than criminal
all
prosecution.
right. Yeah, you see, it's always bad when you have a former prosecutor because they think just like a prosecutor, they're still a prosecutor. They're
Yeah.
just on the judge. They're a judge, but they're still a prosecutor. You know what I mean? So then you have the judge, the prosecutor, and all of them against you. But like I said, in his situation, if he does blow trial, which 9 out of 10 times he's going to blow
Yeah.
trial, he's gonna either come home when he's in his 70s or never come home. You know what I mean? So it's going to be something in that nature. Unless last minute he takes a plea deal and doesn't, avoids trial. That could happen sometimes too.
And for people who are just coming in, or just to backtrack a little bit, when the feds, like Gene said, when the feds look at you, they're not going to arrest you until they have enough evidence that they know they're going to get a conviction.
Right.
On top of that, when it's coming out of the Southern District of New York, their conviction rate is something like 98% by themselves. And you told me, was it like 97 or 96 or 98%
It's
just for the
98.
feds?
It's about
Yeah, so 98
98%.
on both sides. That's, he doesn't have good odds with both, coming out of SDNY and the feds.
Right. And you have to understand something. The government, like I said, cannot be bargained with. They can't be bought. They're glory hounds. They all become
Yeah.
judges, these people. They become politicians. They could run for president. You know what I mean? This is like they don't care about the money. They care about the publicity and the glorification they're going to get off these cases. I dealt with prosecutors. I know I was part of one of the biggest mob cases out of the 5 boroughs for my time, and I know how serious it is. So when you have cases like this, they will appoint the best prosecutors in every of his crimes. They will have the best prosecution team against him.
Um, Let me go back real quick to when he first got arrested, because I think this
Yeah,
also adds a little bit to it. So they did coordinated bi-coastal raids on his home, and I would imagine to be able to get the warrants to do that and have Homeland Security come in, whatever they had to do that was probably pretty significant.
absolutely, absolutely. There's so much like theories and things. I don't know what's true and what's not because they said there was tunnels under his house.
That's not
I don't know
true.
how true.
Yeah,
I
people
figured
love
that
the
wasn't. You
rumors.
know what I mean? There's a lot of things that
Yeah,
they're saying. A lot of
yeah,
exaggerated stuff now, but you also have to break it down like this. If there's 60 victims and 50 of them are lying, he still raped and did horrible things to 10 people.
yeah.
That's not everybody's lying. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's what you have to understand. Even if you have a certain amount of people, I mean, 100 victims, 200 victims, even if 190 of them are lying, you still have victims. That's the thing. And for him to be found not guilty is going to be hitting on Mega Millions ticket, basically.
Well, we saw, and I know that this is not a case for talking about any type of domestic violence or anything like that, but we all saw the tape with him going after Cassie. He was way too comfortable for that to have been his
Yeah.
first time.
Well, he thought he was untouchable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He for a long time. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on. The defense they're going to use is that he's just a swinger or a party guy. But these girls were underage. Some of them. Some of them were 16 years old, from what I'm hearing. 15 years old. I
13
mean,
and case.
13, that's insane. You're not going to beat that. You know what I mean? There's no way you could get around that. R. Kelly and me have the same attorney, Douglas Anton, and the defense was they blamed it on the security team. You had to go through 3 levels of clearance to sleep with R. Kelly. They weren't buying that. He tried blaming it on his team, like the women had to go through his team to get to him, saying that he didn't know that they were underage and all this stuff. So that didn't work. You know.
So a lot of people think that Diddy is not the top fish in this, and that they're using him to try to get to other people. Personally speaking, I don't think that that's the case. I think that he's the one who they want. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. But there's definitely a lot of people's names that are coming up in it.
Yeah,
I mean, here's the thing with those Diddy parties. You can just go to a party, you might not know what's going on. You can't just implicate everybody because they're at a party.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I mean? Even with the Epstein Island thing, like you go to the island, it doesn't mean that you're going things with kids. There's people that was and wasn't. You might not even know what's going on. You got invited to somewhere and you don't know exactly what's going on. Diddy, there's a lot of names coming up with him. I think there's definitely a lot of other people that was involved, but I don't believe like that there's a head honcho above him. Like, I believe
Yeah,
it was just he's a sexual deviant predator, and this is what he does.
yeah, and for reference, and I know you know this too. Back in the '90s and early 2000s, an invite to a Diddy party was like that was incredibly sought after.
Yeah, I mean, who didn't want to party with Puff Daddy? You know what I mean? He was
I
like
know, right?
the most popular guy in the industry. You know what I mean? He's the probably one of the biggest entertainers ever,
Yeah, one of the biggest producers. A lot of hits came out of Bad Boy Records.
ever. What do you mean? He's probably the biggest ever. Like,
Ever.
he's number
It was
one in so many things.
him
This
and Death
guy,
Row. Yeah, it was him and Death Row for a while, and then the
yeah.
whole,
Then he just surpassed
yeah,
everybody. You know what I mean? And he's a billionaire. At the end of the day, he is a billionaire.
yeah. What else am I not asking that people should know? I love this knowledge because you're just full of so much great information. So it's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You can ask me anything. And like I said, also you have to understand something. They'll never present all their evidence. They're allowed to hold back. So the government don't have to present all their evidence. So they're not going to show you everything. They're not going to show you their whole hand. They're going to have some aces in the hole. You know what I mean? So you don't really know. And the amount, who knows how much wiretaps there is when the trial
Oh
starts.
yeah.
This is when the fun stuff happens because if there is people in the shadows that are very scared, trial everything comes out and it will be public.
So with his and I know this is gonna be an opinion question. Um, what do you think jury select? Given how famous he is and high profile he is and how big this case is, what do you think jury selection is gonna look like?
It's going to be impossible. There's no way around it. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's known. I mean, there's no way not to. I mean, I remember when O.J. Simpson had a jury trial. A guy wore a San Francisco jersey and they threw him off. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
just had a football jersey on. I don't even know. You know what I mean? It's so hard to even say because he's so known. Like he's world famous. So it's going to be almost impossible
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not know who he is. They would be lying if you said you didn't know who Puff Daddy is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like the people. What I keep telling people is like, look, I don't know what they're gonna do, but they found a jury for Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. So
Exactly, and they're just as big. You know what I mean?
yeah, they're huge. So, how long does jury selection typically take for something like this?
For this, it's going to take a little bit. A regular jury section wouldn't take this long. This one could
Yeah, I
take a
figured
while.
probably at
Yeah.
least a week. I know that they're
Yes.
estimating about 8 weeks for the trial itself.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, he asked for an extension. They denied it, as I seen. You know what I mean? They wanted to push the trial back. The judge said no.
now here's actually a question for you. So there's a lot of information with this case, and he has been like just on. I want to get this done as quickly as possible. Do you think that that's a mistake that he's not trying to wait it out a little bit longer, and let his lawyers really do their thing, or do you think that that would just be delaying the inevitable, and he knows that?
When somebody's so arrogant and believes that they're just could get away with anything and do anything they want, and he believes in his brain that he's going to beat this, you
Yeah,
have to understand something. Like I said again, the government don't care who you are. Sam Bankman-Fried, I was locked up with him. He stole billions of dollars. This guy was a billionaire. They gave him 30 years, like they were giving candy. They don't care who you are. They're going to put you in
and you
jail. You know what I mean?
deserve eighty
So
percent of that, right? It's federal's 80%,
85,
85. Oof,
85%.
that's
Yes,
that's rough.
85% of that. And so if you get 30 years, you're looking at 25 and change, 26 years and change. You know what I
That's
mean?
brutal.
So I believe Puffy's what, like 50 something years old now, 53?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and he's not going to get any. If he blows trial, it's going to be 20 years and above. I can guarantee you that.
I'm gonna tell you exactly. I know he's in his 50s. Apparently, he's looking all gray and shit because he doesn't have his
55,
routine.
I believe he is. I think he's
55,
55 or 56.
yeah, he'll be 56 this year.
Right. So 25 years for him to be a death sentence. Anything in that area is pretty much a death sentence. You know what I mean? Coming around about. So that's probably why maybe he's going to trial, because maybe they're giving him guidelines of 20 to life. I don't know his. If I knew his
Yeah,
guidelines, I could tell you
they
exactly
have not
why.
shared that.
Yeah.
I
You
don't know if
cop out.
they.
I
Okay.
copped out the 15 to life guidelines. You know what I mean? So I know what I had, and in the federal system, and they recommend with your priors, it's enhancements, it's points. It could go so crazy where you could end up with 30 years on a 15 to life. You know what I mean? So we really don't know his guidelines. If I knew his guidelines, I could tell you what his roundabout is. But if it's RICO racketeering and a RICO case, it's got to be at least 10 to life.
Yeah,
It has to be.
they love going after Rico. I know that. So,
Yeah.
um, so real quick, before I ask you the next question, anybody who's got questions for Gene, please feel free to ask him in the chat. As long as they're not outrageous, we can definitely, answer some of those. If you don't mind me asking, with your case in particular, did you take the plea? Did you take a plea, or did you just go to trial? What did you? I didn't look it
I
up, so
would
I don't know.
I would never go to trial.
Okay.
Anyone that has a brain, you do not go to trial. I mean, literally, you do. Listen to me. You do not go to trial. I mean, unless you have murder and you have no choice, you have a first degree murder and they're offering you life, and you just say, okay, I'll roll the dice. It doesn't matter. You take a plea whenever you can, because like I says, if you take a plea, you might see the end, light at the end of the tunnel. When you go to trial, they usually make it where there's no light if you're facing charges like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Somebody asked if the trial's going to be live. No, federal trials are never live.
Can't bring
Um,
cameras in there. No.
Somebody asked, and
Mhm.
this is up to you if you want to answer it or not. If they asked what you were convicted for,
A conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder. I had everything under the sun. You name it. Yeah.
somebody asked you about the fight in Philly, like
Oh
when that
yeah.
is.
I don't know if it's gonna happen. We'll see.
Is that? I guess that's something you're doing.
Yeah,
That's
boxing thing I was supposed
oh,
to do.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what else to ask you on this. I mean, this has been amazing because I'm
Right.
not a lawyer. Like I know enough to be dangerous because I report on this stuff, but to have somebody who's like been in that situation, that
Well, like
you know,
I said, the lawyer. Listen, a lawyer's confident. You know what I mean? But the prosecutor, the lawyer who used to be a prosecutor, in his brain, he knows we have a slim chance of winning. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They could paint this picture, but at the end of the day, they know how this works. You know what I mean? They'll convict you off hearsay. The feds can convict you off. They have a thing called hearsay indictment. They can lock you up just on hearsay.
wow,
Yes. They have laws that are just insane. They have a thing called ghost dope. Let's say, for instance, this will bug everybody out. If you rent a car, right, and the government has a cooperator who brings back a brick of meth and from you, and he goes, hey, every time he rents the car, he gets a brick of meth. Now they only got one brick from you from that sale, and it goes back. It shows you rented the car 30 times. Guess what? You get charged with 30
wow,
bricks of meth. Okay. It's called Ghost Dope.
that's
They have their own laws,
that's
man. It's
fucked.
insane. Yes, their laws are just insane. The way they operate, they're designed to crush you. When the government's after you, there's a reason for it. You're obviously somebody. You're making noise, and they're gonna teach you a lesson. That's just how it goes.
One of my favorite cases, and you may or may not know about this one, but so I own a DeLorean, and so like the whole John DeLorean cocaine sting is something that I was fascinated with, and his trial in particular is the biggest reason why we have the entrapment laws that we have today, because the FBI, like the lead agent on that case, literally showed up to work one day, and DeLorean's picture was on the thing, and they're like, "That's your next target," and he's like, "Well, who the hell is that?" And they literally entrapped him. And then when he tried to back out of it, when he figured out that it was this drug trafficking thing, he tried to back out of it, and they told him the government told him that they would send him his daughter's head in a box if he backed out of this deal, posing as the cartel. So his lawyer's like, "We'll go to the meeting and just like don't do anything, don't agree to anything, and then we'll figure it out." And then they arrested him for conspiracy to traffic cocaine.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
but they destroyed him. His reputation, the car company, all of it was gone. So,
Yeah, they don't play fair, man. And like I said, listen, the FBI, they go after anybody. I'll be honest with you, they don't care. They don't care who you are, man. They don't. They love the
yeah.
glory cases. They love the bigger name you are, the more they want to come after you. They don't care. They go after politicians, anybody. They don't care.
And you might not be allowed to answer, or might not be comfortable answering this, and that's okay. You can tell me not to. But just for curiosity's sake, um, when they come after somebody who is in the Cosa Nostra, the mafia, whatever you want to
Right.
call it, and you're talking about high up officials, um, like it seems to me that would be something terrifying for somebody to do.
No, no,
Like even for them, because just
no, it's not.
okay,
No, they love
okay,
it. No, they don't. They love it. And they built the RICO case for people like that. That's what RICO
Yeah.
was made for. RICO was designed for the organized crime, and it's to get the people behind the scenes because they can never get the shot callers. They always were the ones sitting behind the scenes, and RICO was created for the bosses. That's what it was created for.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, my knowledge on that, and this is going to be a really shitty way to learn, it all came from Sopranos.
Okay.
That's it. So,
Well, it's a close story. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Sopranos is definitely close to real. Donnie Brasco and Goodfellas is actually the best movies you'll see because it's
Okay.
actual real people based on my neighborhood, based on real families and people. You know, so Donnie Brasco and Goodfellas is probably the most realist gangster movies you could watch.
Gotcha. I just feel like, I mean, I'm not in the FBI, I'm not in law enforcement, but I just feel like going after like, some head of one of the families would be terrifying. But I guess they just don't
No,
give a shit.
no, they don't. They love it. They'll have 24-hour surveillance on you. My old boss had 24-hour surveillance on him. They don't care. Yeah,
Wow.
they love it.
Um, well, he had mentioned that's up to him. They asked if what you were arrested for. I'm assuming you were totally vindicated from when the federal government. You weren't vindicated, I don't think, but you're out now.
Yeah, I'm out now. Yes, I did 13 years total of my life in prison. I've done, I've been on parole and probation my whole life, pretty much. That's why I said I could give you the insight of government and state and everything, and I know how screwed he is, and I think he knows how screwed he is. So he's just taking his shot. You know what I mean? That's basically what's going on right now.
So with the federal stuff that because you said you had federal and state, did your state stuff ended up did state stuff get dropped
No,
over the federal stuff?
they'll take the state cases over. They'll pull them over.
So is that what
If
happened
it's
with you?
Oh yes, they could do that. Like if you're
Okay.
committing crimes in the state that are basically, for organizations and they just pick you up in the state, they'll recharge you for it in the feds. That's what they do. Even after
Insane.
you serve time for it. I had a friend of mine that did time for sports betting in the state in 2003. He got picked up on an indictment. They charged him with the same sports betting thing 15 years later almost because it was in the RICO. It
And
was
it
in
wasn't double
the
jeopardy?
Nope.
Oh, because they put it in the RICO
How
Act.
about
Yeah.
this? You could beat a murder in the 80s. Let's say you beat a body. You killed somebody, you were found not guilty in the state. If they could prove that you did it for an organization, they could charge you with the same murder in the feds.
That's insane. I didn't know any
Yeah.
of that.
So if you beat a murder in the state, you killed the guy, right? And it's just you. They don't know anything later. If it comes out later from a cooperator or wiretaps that you killed them for an organization under the RICO Act, you will be charged with the same murder in the feds.
It seems like that should be illegal, but I guess it's
It's
not.
not.
It's the federal government, so they get to do
Yeah.
whatever the hell they want.
Yes, it's not. That's how they work.
Uh,
Yes.
so I guess, and this is not what I'm talking about Diddy on this, but I guess that's why Luigi's going the way. So that's why he has federal charges and not New York State charges, and that's why.
Well, I spoke on him before. I was on
Yeah,
News Nation multiple times about
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
On the
Courtney
local.
actually messaged me when she saw that because I've been on News Nation a
Yeah,
bunch too. She messaged
yeah,
me about you when I posted that, and she was like, "Oh, he's great. He's got so much
yeah.
information." So
I talked on Luigi. Like I said, he's as well done. He'll do natural life in prison. He's just natural life. He'll never see the light of day ever
you
again.
don't
That's his
you
life.
don't think they'll you don't think they'll win the death penalty conviction on him?
Uh, no, they don't kill nobody in New York. It's
Well,
not
no,
gonna happen.
they said it was the federal
No, I
charge
know,
figure.
but
Yeah.
they still won't kill you. My old boss was gonna be the first gangster to be killed by it, and he had like 22 murders, and they still didn't kill him.
Okay.
Yeah, they never kill nobody. They in the New York federal system, they won't kill you usually. If you're in down south, if you're in Texas or Florida or one of those, oh yeah, you're gonna die. Texas especially.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
since I have you here and you did to talk about Luigi, let me ask this because when we talked about this earlier, and I know this, you know this, that they'll investigate you for years before they pick you up. They didn't have that with Luigi, so
No, so this is a spur of the moment thing. This is not an investigation. This is basically somebody that did a terrorist act. I looked at it as a terrorist act. He did a terrorist act. He shot somebody with a silencer for no good reason, for some cockamania, crazy reason, and basically he got caught through cameras. But they turned it into when they looked into him and they seen all the evidence that he had planned it. And then that's why I said from the beginning the feds were going to pick him up because the state had him at first, and I knew the feds were coming because of the way the crime was done with a silencer, and now he's saying doing it for a greater cause and all that stuff. So it wasn't just a random shooting like it looked like at first. Then you see he was plotting it and everything. So I knew the government was coming. I had said that already to them.
but since they didn't have like years to build a case against him, do you think that their conviction rate's still going to be just as strong for him?
His conviction is going to be 100% convicted,
Okay,
1,000% convicted. There's not a he has a better chance of seeing Jesus doing the Macarena in the middle of the street than him ever seeing the street again. How about
all
that?
right,
He has zero chance of winning. 0.00.
all right.
He
That's,
shot a man in the back on camera with a silencer. Okay,
I
he's not
mean,
going anywhere. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I was just curious because I know they were going after murder on it. It's very interesting to know because when they don't have all that information,
But you know
it's
what they're
just,
doing with him, right? He will be charged again because they have it on. They have different acts. So let's say he did get lucky and he wins in the feds. He has other charges waiting for him in the state.
oh, yeah. Well, I knew that. And I figured that we're probably going to see more
Yeah,
charges for
he's
him
not going nowhere.
anyway.
They'll
If
never
you,
let him out again. He'll never see the. He'll never see the. He'll never be free again in his
okay,
life. Never.
well, once they have you, they can continue to roll. I mean, that's what happened with Diddy. Every time you turned around,
Yes.
they were hitting him with another
Yeah.
charge.
And when they do that, well, here's the thing. The only thing that really raised my, I started thinking is that when they do that, they want you to cooperate. When
Yeah.
they keep doing that to you, it's like they know you know things. So
Yeah.
I think they're doing that
Interesting.
as a tactic to make him break, and he's not breaking because maybe he's scared for his life because maybe he is involved with people that will get him killed in any way. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, I was in the same location as he was in. You can't kill yourself in those jails. I did a big story on this. I got 1 million views with it. You can't kill yourself in those jails. You can't.
Well, I don't think anybody believes Epstein killed
You
himself.
can't kill
So,
yourself. I'm trying to tell you,
yeah.
you're in there with clothes that are made of tissue. You have 3 different guards that watch you on 3 different shifts, and you have cameras. The cameras weren't working. The guard fell asleep. Anything else want to happen? Oh, anything
Yeah.
else? Anything else want to happen for this random guy to be able to kill himself? You know what I mean? It's almost like
And he had to know about all that too. So he could, yeah.
yes, it's almost ridiculous. The camera's not working, the guard is sleeping, and he just magically had something to use to kill himself. You're in there in the suicide cell. You have a mattress on the floor. That's all you have. That's all you
Yeah.
have.
Well, then the Virginia Guffrey just committed
Yeah, they all,
suicide too.
all do.
So,
What about the guy that celled with Jeffrey Epstein? You know what happened to him? The one
yeah,
that was
same
his
thing,
bunkie?
right? Same
Oh
thing,
no,
right?
he had a heart attack in the back of the cab magically.
There was a
Yeah.
chef in Paris that knew it. He died too.
Oh, listen, we go on for days. This guy was healthy. He got out. They were gonna do an interview with him about being bunkies with Epstein and things that he told them. 3 days before the interview, he has a random heart attack in the back of a cab, and no one thinks anything of it. It's crazy,
Yeah.
almost. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Epstein was he in Brooklyn MDC or was he in a different prison?
He was in MCC before it
Okay.
closed.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I couldn't remember where he was. It's been a while.
yeah,
I don't know what else to ask you. I think I've asked you pretty much everything.
yeah.
What else do you want to share with us? I mean, you're awesome to talk to. So
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, man. I've been in the true crime thing. I seen what you were talking about, the Diddy thing, and I says, we could definitely elaborate on this because I spoke about it with News Nation, and I broke it down to them where he is. He's in a very comfortable jail right now. He's not really caring about prison because it's very laid back. There's nothing going on in there. There's no violence. You know what I mean? So he's very happy where he is right now. But when he does, God forbid, when he blows trial and he has to go to one of these penitentiaries, it's not going to be fun no more. I can tell you
so
that much.
with the feds, will they count the time he's already served towards his sentence? Or
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely. Every day counts. Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about in the coming. If
Absolutely.
you want to keep doing
Yeah.
this, like I'm
Absolutely.
totally down.
Let me know. I'll come on with you. We'll do updates. Let me know.
And before we let Gene get back to his life, do you guys have any questions for him? I mean, this is an opportunity that people don't get a lot to ask somebody like Gene, who's got this inside knowledge from all sides.
Yeah.
So for them to get P Diddy, he can't be the big boss. Who might be that? We talked about that a little bit while ago. We think it's probably him.
I don't think it's a big boss. I just think it's a bunch of sexual deviants, potential predators that he might be friends with. But I don't know how high it goes up, these conspiracy theories. But I just think it's I think it's just a bunch of sex offenders. You know what I mean? That are
Well,
just doing hard,
what
taking advantage of people.
one of the names they kept throwing around was a guy by the name of Clive Davis, who's been around
Oh
forever. But I'm like, the feds aren't going to spend this to go after an 87-year-old man.
no, he's half dead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's already there.
And like I said, sometimes, like even with the Epstein case with the wife, when she was right around the corner. When I was in MDC Brooklyn, I got in trouble. I went to solitary confinement. She was right
Oh,
around the corner from me when she
Ghislaine
was in.
Maxwell, hers.
Yeah, nobody was allowed to go near her except for one lieutenant. That's it. She was so scared for her life. She actually had a kill switch that if anything happened to her, all her secrets would be released on a computer. She was so scared. I mean, this is like she was so terrified. Nobody's allowed to go near her, and her case was so not publicized. It was almost
Oh, I
crazy.
know, it's very
Very
quiet.
quiet. It's almost like how is it this on the
Yeah,
front page of the paper every day?
there weren't even really updates that you got. You just kind of
Nothing.
had to wait
I
for
was in the
anything.
jail. I was in the jail. Nobody spoke about it. It was just so like
Weird.
swept under the rug. Like it's so corrupt almost. You know what I mean?
Um, yeah, well, we did an interview the other day with Joe Exotic, and and I guess that he's in Houston, and he's in um, a medical prison because he's got cancer, and we ended up only getting the 15-minute call, but he thought that he was going to have a way to do 45 minutes, and I know what that means, and I know what that means too. That more likely the guards brought whatever in that he was going to
Right.
use, but yeah, so I know that it's very corrupt in there. Somebody asked a good question, and this is obviously speculation. They said, "Do you think that he'll go to Colorado, like where like El Chapo is,
No.
and like?" But I
Nah.
don't think he'll, because that's for
No.
really, really like the
No.
worst of the worst.
One of my old boss for the Banana family I was a part of was a guy named Vinny Bacciano. His name's Vinny Gorgeous. He was sent there because he was so powerful and can have you killed. So it's only that place is for people that are so powerful because you can't get your mail comes on a computer screen in there. You have no movement. It depends on the level that he's on. That's for people that are extremely powerful and can have you killed by just going like this. That would not be a place for for P Diddy. No.
Yeah, it's Can I ask you because the Vinny Gorgeous is an awesome mob name. What
Yeah.
was yours?
Genie
Or
Boy.
Genie Boy?
Genie Boy, that's what they call me. Yeah,
Vinny
yeah,
Vinny Gorgeous is great though.
yeah.
That's an awesome name.
He owned nail salons called Gorgeous, Gorgeous Nails, whatever. So they call him Vinny Gorgeous. But yeah, he was a killer. He was a murderer, and he's doing double life. And he started off in ADX.
Okay,
Yeah, and then now he's not in there no more.
so
Right?
when you're high, so they don't even. That's really interesting. So even when you're higher up in like one of the five families, you still don't go to the Colorado prison.
Yeah. No, no. They did. They
Oh,
were
he
in
is.
there.
That's where he is. Okay.
Oh, then he got dropped down after like 15 years. They brought him down. Gotti was in there. He was in there. Many gang leaders. Pistol Pete was in there. The King Blood was in there. The head of Latin Kings. A lot of gang leaders that could have you killed by just saying "get it done" and you're gone. They put them in there.
What do you know? You haven't been in a facility like that, but what does life look like for just for curiosity's sake? Somebody
No, I
like
have
that.
been in there. It's basically being in the hole. So
Okay,
basically, it's basically like living in solitary confinement your whole bid.
that's rough.
It's horrible. It's like really horrible. If you've seen El Chapo, he was almost going crazy. I don't know if you know that
Yeah,
he couldn't handle it. The way they had him locked in. You know what I mean?
yeah. El Chapo is a very interesting one because he obviously he's a bad dude, right?
Well,
He's probably more ruthless than Escobar was,
I
and
was locked up with a lot of guys that work for him. Very good friends. I was very good friends with the Flores twins, Margarito Flores. 50 Cent did a documentary on him. This guy was responsible for thousands of murders, heinous crimes that you can't even think. I can't even imagine what they were doing to people. When I read the paperwork, I almost wanted to throw up. Killing children, raping women, torturing them, dismembering them, hanging people from bridges. This guy deserves the electric chair, to be honest with you. You know what
yeah,
I mean? So however he's living, I really don't care. Their crimes are
he's a bad
not
dude.
organized. We don't believe in that. Mafia goes after mafia. There's no innocence. We don't kill women. We don't kill children. They act like terrorists. They'll kill your whole family. They're just a whole different breed of people.
It's funny. So you say that I'm gonna die my wife out real quick on this because she's like, "Are you sure you want to go live with him?" I'm sure he still knows people. I said, "Have you watched anything mafia related? They don't go after people unless it's part of like a turf war kind
That's
of a
it.
thing."
We don't believe in innocence. Cartels
Yeah,
do. They
yeah,
they believe it keeps you in order. So like if you cooperate and they can't get you, they'll kill your mother, they'll kill your sister, they'll kill your babies. They have no remorse, no regards for
yeah,
people like
ruthless.
that. That's a terrorist, and they don't belong in society. That is just totally different. And I really don't care how he lives in jail because even the cops that locked him up, they kept saying, all I wanted to do was just rip his head off because they know the things that he was responsible for. They're just like, the people that locked him up was like, you don't know how bad I wanted to just like kill him. You know what I mean? Because he was such an evil person.
Yeah, there was a story way back when, before he was arrested, where I guess it was the Taliban had gotten involved and sunk some of his boats that were carrying, his product on it, and he was so angry about that he financed a war against it was either Taliban or Al Qaeda, and he
Yeah.
financed a war and was more successful than the U.S. government was at what he was doing. And when you think about the level of power and money that somebody has to be able to outdo the U.S. government on that, it's mind blowing.
I could tell you these stories for days. I was locked up. I told you, God, I was locked up with Lobo. Lobo was a personal killer for him. On Lobo's indictment was 400 murders. Um, Yeah, 400 murders. He was charged with him and his team. That El Chapo had to stop paying him per body because it started getting too expensive. So he was paying him on a monthly rate to kill people, and
Wow.
he had like 20 consecutive life sentences. And this guy's the crimes were just heinous. I mean, shooting little kids in the back while they're going to their mothers. I mean, just horrible things where it's just like it's not even like nothing to respect or even like it's just
No,
like
you can't respect
disgusting
that.
almost. You
Yeah.
don't. It's just disgusting. I hated their whole organization. I hated the way they operated. I don't respect anything about them, and I don't like what they do. And I hope Donald Trump takes them all out like he's supposed
Yeah.
to.
I mean,
To be honest,
that was one thing to designate cartels as terrorist groups. I was like, yeah, I'm all for that.
all for
Like
it.
that should
They
have
are
been done.
just as bad as them. They are the same thing as a terrorist group. They are no different. They are no
They
different.
actually might they actually might be worse because they have more money.
And they will kill innocent people. They have no problem with it. That's what they do. That's what they believe, killing innocents. You know what I mean?
For anybody, if you want some more insight on like the cartels and stuff like that, there's if you haven't seen it, a phenomenal series on Netflix called Narcos. There's Narcos. Have you watched that?
No, I
You would love
haven't
it.
watched any. I actually can't. I'll be honest with you, I can't watch them.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't.
Well, that's fair.
Anything with them, I'll be honest with you, I despise them really
Okay.
bad. Yeah,
Well, it
yeah.
was it was yeah. Well, at one point, Escobar took out a plane full of people
Killing
just for
innocent
one
people. I know.
person.
Oh, I know about. I know the
Yeah.
stories. I was locked
Yeah.
up with Pablo's guys too back in the day. I was locked up with Henry, who's El Mayo's son, the one that was above El Chapo. And these guys are multi-billionaires, and they just, they look at a life like a cockroach. It don't matter what it is. It could be a baby, it could be a kid. Anything is just the way they operate, man.
And the point is, guys, the mafia, like the Italian mafia, has morals and
If
rules that they follow,
we
and the
hurt a
cartels do
woman or our
not.
children, we're dead. We're dead. If we do that and our people find out that we did any kind of rape or sexual things or hurt our children, you're dead. You're walking that plank. With them, it's condoned. They tell you to do it to keep the order.
Now, somebody asked, where can you get updates? So Diddy's trial will not be televised because federal trials are never televised. It's not just Diddy's; it's any of them. And I'll be doing updates daily, but there's going to be a lot of other people doing it as well. So if you don't like the way I do things, and somebody else will do it, but you'll be seeing them. I'll be doing them throughout the day and then recaps in the evening. And somebody asked what Diddy was charged with, and his main charges basically are, where is it? I had it
Human
earlier.
trafficking. I believe human trafficking. I got to look it
Yeah,
up. I think it holds life.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure human trafficking holds
s-
life with
yeah.
underage girls. If it's underage girls being trafficked, I think that holds life. I'm pretty sure.
That's the big one. No, he's clearly not in jail now.
No,
He's
I'm
in
saying
a
I think
house.
it holds life though. I mean, I believe it
Oh,
holds life.
there's somebody asking if you were in jail right now,
No,
and I was like,
I'm
he's clearly like, look at his background. That's clearly not in jail. And he wouldn't be able to be on Instagram Live.
no.
Uh, so Diddy was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation for the purpose of prostitution. And I think there's some other things
How
that
is
are
he
severe.
on racketeering though with only one person? It's usually five people or more. I don't understand that. RICO
They have
racketeering
him.
is just
Yeah, it's weird. So they have him at the top of it, basically being the organizer.
yeah,
They don't care about basically what the argument is that he was telling people what to do, but they didn't necessarily know what they were doing because he kept it all very hush
right.
hush. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, what I won't be surprised if some of the people who were closer to him in organizing it probably are going to save their own asses and testify against
Yeah,
him.
I mean, like I said, the testimony is going to be overwhelming. It's going to be hard to find him not guilty of anything. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of what he gets. If once I'm going to look it up for next time we talk, what his guidelines are. I'm pretty sure it's something to
Yeah,
life. I'm almost
yeah,
positive it's a life guideline. And like I said, the judge will make an example out of him. I'm almost positive. And 30 years in bed is life in prison. You know what I mean? For a 50-something-year-old man. You know what I mean?
yeah. With 80%, yeah, he's already
85%. You're
yeah.
55 years old. He only have 1 year in, almost 1 year, I believe he has. You
It'll be
know,
September.
yeah, 30 years is a life sentence for him. You know what I mean? So
Um, so, so because obviously you've written a book and stuff like that. Do you ever worry about speaking out with all of your stuff? Like, is that ever a
no,
concern for you?
no, I don't. No, not at all. I advocate. I try to help little kids stay out of gangs. I seen the horribleness of it. I seen the both sides of it, and there's nothing good about it. The outcome is the same thing for everybody: dead or in prison. That's your outcome when you live the street life and you do these horrible things for people that you believe are good people, because they're not. And like I said, I try to keep people out of this life and away
That's
from this
awesome.
shit because
Yeah.
yeah, because everything that ever happened to me, I did for other people, and I got nothing out of it but being in prison. All my friends are dead, doing life in prison. So, I lived a crazy life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure.
People listen to me because they know.
I'm I'm sure you have amazing stories though. So,
Yes,
um, well, here's what I'm going to tell people because I don't know what's asking. We'll let him go. We'll keep hopefully do this again throughout the trial. But if you're one of my
absolutely.
followers, go follow Gene. He's obviously a very good follow. And you have a book out. Do you want to promote your book real quick?
It's called Born in Life. It's a New York
I'm
Times
gonna
bestseller. Sold over
buy it.
40,000 copies. Yeah, they're trying to make it into a TV show as we speak. So, like I said, I've been working on that for a little while now. And yeah, that's it. You get it anywhere on Amazon, and you could DM me for a personal autograph copy. I sell them
Yeah,
myself
yeah.
too.
If you send me a thing for it, I'll buy one from you.
Yeah,
So
cool.
yeah, I did children's books.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so I got three of them, but I've only got this one in stock right
All
now.
right.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, so I get it. Yeah, I sell them too and sign them, and so yeah, I would love that, man. So yeah, message me what I need to do, and I'll shoot you the money.
Yeah, cool.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. If I can figure out how to, my book is Boundaries, and his book what was it one more time?
Born in the Life.
And you can message him for for a copy that's signed,
Yep.
which honestly, as somebody who sells too, um, if you don't buy from Amazon, he actually gets the profit from it. If not, he makes like a couple cents when his publisher pays him, which is probably
Yeah.
if not annually, probably quarterly.
All my money comes from autograph copies. You know,
Mine too.
I sold about 12,000 autograph copies already, and that's where all the money comes from because you don't make no money with the Amazon. They take everything.
They take everything, and then if it's usually another seller like a
I
bookstore, they're going
sold
to take theirs.
I sold 25,000 copies with Amazon, and I can tell you that you don't make much.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
So I don't even worry about my Amazon sales. Um, which my publisher handles, so they take their cut too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, man, Gene, dude, I so
Yeah.
appreciate you. So, all right, guys, give him a follow, purchase his book, and I will hopefully when we have more information on Diddy, which we'll start getting next week. Trial starts tomorrow. We'll continue
Yes.
doing this.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, thank you. Have a good night, man.
All right. Take care, bro.